Ever dropped a sound into your track and thought, why does it feel like it's trapped inside a shoebox? No air, no vibe, no life. That's because it's missing reverb, the invisible atmosphere that gives sound space, depth, and emotion. Reverb is what happens when sound bounces around a room, off walls, ceilings, floors, or maybe even your cat, if it's loud enough. Without it, your track feels lonely. With it, your track feels like it belongs to a world. But reverb isn't just one button. It's a whole world of reflections, delays, diffusions, and damping. Done wrong, and your mix turns into a blurry mess. Like all your sounds are swimming together in a muddy pool. Done right, and it's like you built a real 3D world around your sounds. Every element breathing, moving, alive. Today, we are unlocking every single knob on Fruity Reeverb 2. No mystery, no guesswork. From early reflections to stereo separation, you'll walk away knowing how to craft the exact space you want. If you're new here, welcome to the Infinity Lab, the channel where we dissect plugins like science projects and leave with radio-ready sounds. And when I'm not decoding reverb molecules, I'm dropping beats. Search infDB on BeatStars and YouTube to hear my creations in action. And don't forget, this video is your complete guide. You won't need to Google anything after this. So make sure you watch till the end. Some of the juiciest tricks coming up later when we combine a few knobs for chef level sauce. First up is Predelay. Predelay tells your reverb, hey, hold up a second. It's the time between the dry sound and the reverb tail kicking in. Why does that matter? Because it keeps your original sound punchy and clear, especially vocals and snares. Try starting around 30 milliseconds for vocals to create that tiny space between the dry signal of the vocal and the reverb hit. We'll tie this into tempo sync later. And trust me, it's a groove maker. Click on the tiny tempo icon near the pre-delay knob and boom, now you delay grooves with the project tempo. Earlier, we were setting the pre-delay in terms of milliseconds. Now, no more millisecond guesswork. You want your reverb to hit on a 16th note? Done. Size is the imaginary room your sound lives in. Low size is like a bathroom slab, whereas high size feels like a cathedral. It affects how far and wide your reverb spreads. Dial it carefully as per the feel of your sound. Imagine different sizes, tweak the knob, and get your desired result. If you want to exploit it more, you can use size with the diffusion knob to create atmospheric textures. Diffusion is like the texture of a reverb tail. Think of it as how scattered or smoothed out those echo reflections are. Low diffusion is like throwing ping pong balls around a tile room. You'll hear sharp, bouncy reflections, kinda robotic and glitchy. Now crank that diffusion up and suddenly those reflections blur together into a soft cloud. You're no longer in a spaceship, you're floating in ambient heaven, drenched in dreamy sound. So if you want clear, punchy slapback echoes, keep it low. But for lush, cinematic washes of space, crank it up. And you can also pair this with the size knob and things get really spacious. Tweak these two knobs and see the diagram forming. It gives you the idea of what kind of space you are creating for your reverb. Decay basically means how long your reverb lasts after the sound stops. A short decay is clean and tight, perfect for fast drums. Long decay turns your sound into an ambient pad. Combine it with low damp later to tailor the vibe. High cut rules of the top end of the reverb. If your reverb is hissing like a snake in a rainstorm, this knob tames it. If you want vintage warmth, cut the highs, especially clutch for vocals and lo-fi beats. Low cut slices out the bass from your reverb. Without it, you're adding mud to your low end. Use this to keep your kick and bass crisp while still bathing the mids in space. Crossover is the frequency fence between lows and highs. It tells the plugin where to apply high damp versus low damp. Use it to shape reverb decay in different frequency zones. This gets even better when paired with mid-side input coming up next. The damp knob controls how fast high and low frequencies decay. If you want sparkly highs to fade quicker, turn up high damp. And if you want the bass to hang around longer, lower low damp. This is decay EQ magic. For example, set high damp to 16 kHz. You'll preserve almost all the sparkle in the reverb tail. It's bright and airy. But if you dial it down to 8 kHz, those highs fade away quicker, making the reverb sound darker and more vintage. Use this to match the tone of your track or to create a specific vibe. This knob handles the first echoes that come back, those fast reflections that tell your ear what kind of room you are in. If you turn it up high, the sound will feel like a snappy room slap, whereas turning it down will make it feel smooth and distant. The early reflection level knob is useful for mimicking small spaces or bedroom vibes. Mod depth adds a little motion to your reverb tail. Think of it like gently wobbling the reflections over time, like a phaser or chorus, but only in the reverb. It makes the static reverb come to life. Subtle movement gives a lush texture. Mod speed controls how fast the wobble is. While lower values are slow and dreamy, high values make it fluttery and wobbly. Great for adding emotion to ambient or lo-fi tracks. Wet dry is how much reverb you are hearing versus the original sound. 100% wet means full echo, whereas 0% means dry as toast. You may use 100% wet if you are putting the reverb on a send channel, and if you are inserting it directly, dial it in gently. Stereo separation spreads your reverb across the stereo field. Left means mono and right means wide and dreamy. If you want your vocals in the center and your reverb floating around, this is your knob. It shines when combined with high damp to keep the highs from overwhelming the middle. This tiny mid-side switch decides what part of the stereo field triggers the reverb. Setting it to mid refers to just the center, whereas setting it to side refers to just the edges. It's great for surgical reverb placement. You can design your sound by keeping the center dry and sides dreamy. Using this switch, it can also be combined with crossover and you've got serious sound design control. So that's every knob explained. Fruity Reverb 2 might look simple, but with the right combos, it's a beast. Combine pre-delay plus tempo sync, sculpt tails with damp plus crossover, and unlock stereo magic using mid-side input. This video was my attempt to provide you with a complete reverb guide. You don't need another one. Bookmark it, watch it twice, send it to your beat-making homie who still drowns snares for fun. And hey, if you like the beat you've been hearing throughout, check out infDB on BeatStars. I also drop them on my YouTube. Just search infDB, links below. So before we wrap it up, let's quickly run through everything one more time, just to lock it in your brain. Remember, pre-delay is like telling the reverb, hold up for a second, so your main sound stays punchy. Size controls how big or tiny your imaginary room is. Diffusion decides whether your echoes bounce around sharply like ping pong balls or smear into a dreamy cloud. Decay is how long your reverb tail hangs out after the sound stops. Then you've got high cut and low cut. They are your cleanup crew, trimming the extra highs and lows. The reverb sits cleanly in the mix. Damp helps you shape the tone of the reverb, whether it stays bright and sparkly or fades into something darker and vintage. Stereo separation is your width control. It decides if the reverb hugs to the center or spreads wide into the mix. And finally, mid-side input is your surgical tool, letting you trigger reverb either right down the middle or out on the sides. Now here's an easy cheat code for when you're actually using the plugin. Just ask yourself, where am I? How bright is it? How long does it last? How wide does it feel? If you answer these 4 questions, dialing the right settings becomes stupidly easy. No more random tweaking, no more muddy mixes. Subscribe to the Infinity Lab for more plugin breakdowns, beat breakdowns, and dangerously cooked sound design. Comment for what you want next. Yup, still my beat. Grab it on my BeatStars, name's infDB. Go make something fire.